Hello everyone, and welcome to CIE 400, Comparative and International Education. My name is Alex Wiseman. I'm the professor for this class, and these are a series of short 15-minute videos to introduce you to our website and to review the syllabus. So I think it's going to be actually kind of interesting, and I'm looking forward to having the class with you. As you can see, we have a website. It is a WordPress.com sort of blog style site. It's CIE400.wordpress.com. You put that in, everyone has access to this. It is a public site, so even if you're not enrolled in the course, you can get access to this. And a couple things to just point out. One is there's a home screen, which you're looking at right now. It has the title of the course. It has a little information about CIE 400. It has a little bit of information about me, if you're wondering who I am and you haven't met me before. Nice to meet you. As you can see, that CIE is an introductory course, right, to comparative and international education. And in our Lehigh College of Education's Comparative and International Education program, it is a required course for every student that is completing a degree through the CIE program at every level, whether you're a master's level or a doctoral level. This website is the online presence of the CIE course taught by me. This is not the same course site that is used by other faculty in the Comparative and International Education program. So you will definitely have an Alex Wiseman perspective or approach that is represented in this site. One of the things that we're trying to do in this course is to introduce you to the origins and development of the field of comparative and international education. Now, the interesting thing about that is there's actually quite a bit of discussion among our scholarly comrades that about whether or not CIE is actually its own field or its own discipline. And that has to do with questions of whether or not we have our own theories, whether or not we have our own methodologies, and whether or not we have our own canon. In other words, set of readings that we consider to be sort of central to the development of the field conceptually, theoretically, and methodologically. And that's something that we'll talk about as we are going through the course, whether or not it is a field. My perspective is, my argument is that it is a field. However, it's a unique field in that it is like all of education studies, really. It borrows from other social science disciplines. So we borrow heavily from political science and from sociology and from anthropology and from economics and history and from psychology even. All right, so that'll be an interesting discussion that we'll be having as we go through the course. So the basic purpose of the course is to introduce you to the comparative studies literature, specifically about education, and to develop an understanding of the relative utility or use of different theoretical approaches and research methods for understanding both formal and non-formal educational issues from a comparative perspective. Now, this right here tells you that this is a survey class, right? Because we are looking at theoretical approaches and research methods. We're looking very broadly. And one of the goals for this class really is to help you develop your own theoretical framework, your own conceptual way of thinking about comparative and international education. And it doesn't mean that you have to choose just one. It doesn't mean that you have to choose one that already exists. You can create your own. But the idea is that you do want to have enough of a grounding in comparative and international education that you can make some, that you can articulate some of the ways that you're thinking about comparative or international education phenomenon, and that could help shape the way that you approach these concepts either for policy making or for research design or whatever else you're going to be doing. We are going to give some special attention to the similarities and differences in educational policy and practice between what is more recently being called emerging economies or societies or whatever you want to say, and others. There are lots of ways to phrase this. Very old-fashioned ways would say, you know, first world, third world. More recent ways would say developed or developing. Another old-fashioned way is industrialized versus non-industrialized. I mean, there are lots of ways that we've sort of gone through history and tried to talk about the advantages and disadvantages, at least from a Western perspective, that different countries and societies and cultures might have. One of the more recent ways of talking about that is to talk about emerging societies, because emerging doesn't necessarily have the same disadvantage attached to it that I guess an emerged society would be. So we'll be talking about some of those differences in the way that we can structure our conversations about different stages of development and what that means and what our own perspectives are as we go through the course. And at the end of the course, you should be able to think about your own school or educational system within a global context and have a pretty solid understanding of how to internationally compare. By the way, there's also a big discussion about whether or not it is ethical or right, or whether or not there is added value to comparisons of education, either whether it's education for individuals or a whole national education system comparison. So we'll be talking about some of the ethics of comparison. We'll be talking about some of the value statements or value assumptions that are attached to educational comparisons, and that'll be interesting to see how you think about your own educational system, where you come from, or the system that you are embedded in within a global context after we've been through 14 weeks of class together. All right, and then like I said, if you'd like to learn more about me, there's a whole bunch of information here. You're welcome to read that. I also have my CV linked in case you want to check up on me, or you got a job you want to hire me for. And then I have a website where I do post occasionally some blogs and keep things up to date. I also have a Twitter feed that you can get to from there. So if you want more about Alex Wiseman, there are plenty of opportunities. Next, I'm going to go to this posts and updates section. This is where blog posts will appear. And you can see that I've got one up here for us right now. This is the class website for CIE 400 being offered during the fall 2014 semester, blah, 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 and the links to the syllabus and reading list. Why not get a head start on the class by doing some reading over the summer? So if you're getting this, or if you're watching this before the class actually starts, now would be a good time to get a head start. And you'll see that the last time that I taught this class was unfortunately 2 years ago in 2012. And if you want to, you can look through, you'll see more blog posts all from 2012. If you want to, this archive section has all the information from the 2012 class. You'll see that there are some striking similarities between the syllabus in 2012 and now, and some of the reading links between 2012 and now. What you might find especially interesting is looking at some of the discussions that your colleagues 2 years ago had. Most of the people that were in this 2012 class actually graduated this spring. Just now. So you won't actually overlap with these people, but I think that it'll be interesting to see how you connect to previous cohorts. All right, and then we'll be posting other things on this part of the website from time to time throughout the course of the semester. I'm going to save the syllabus and reading section for last, in fact, for the next screencast in this series. Right now, let me just take us to the discussion. At the end of each class day, and technically classes are offered every Thursday during the semester, I'm going to ask you to post your comments or thoughts related to each of that week's topics or readings by the end of that day. Now, I know that there are some of you who are taking this class who are international, and you're taking it from a distance. And if you're not able to join us live in class, we'll be using Google Hangout as a way to do that. If you're not able to join us live in class because your time zone doesn't permit or because your work schedule doesn't permit, you are going to be expected to watch the recording of the class. And you will always be expected to post your comments or thoughts every week on this discussion site. Whether you're on campus and face-to-face with me, or whether you're halfway around the world in a completely different time zone, you still are going to be engaging in the class either live, which is the preferred method, or by watching the recording, and then posting your comments or thoughts related to each week's topics or readings by the end of the day. Every day we have class, which is Thursday. Okay? Let me just point out what I'd like for you to do, or how I'd like for you to do it. I'd like for you to begin with a paragraph of 5 sentences at least of constructive criticism of the comments that were posted immediately before you for that week. So if I was the one to post first and you were posting second, whatever I said in my post, you would need to spend at least 5 sentences constructively critiquing my posting. Right? And so we'll talk about how to do that in class. It's not meant to be mean or competitive or truly really nasty criticism. That isn't the point. The point is for us to engage each other and to point out strengths and differences in the ways that we look at the readings and the topics, and this is one way to do that. All right. If you are the first person to post comments for a week's topics or readings, you do not have to write any constructive criticism, and you can just post your own comments and thoughts. This is meant to be a little bit of an incentive for you to try to be the first one to post, because then you just have to give your own perspective, unless you really like critiquing. And then you'll see, if we scroll down, that each of the weeks are posted here. For week 1, I'm just going to click on it. You can also get to it this way, right? You just highlight it when this drop-down menu pops up, and then click on it, and you're there, same place. So you post your comments. The way you do that is in this reply box. Leave a reply. So I'm just going to give you an example right now. This is where you can leave a comment. Just type your comments into the leave a reply box at the bottom of the page. Right? That's pretty easy. And then you click post comment. And let's see what happens with the magic. Look at that. It worked. Now when you guys do it, I think I have to approve you to post a comment the first time you do it, so you might not see it pop up automatically the very first time like you saw mine just do. But after I approve you once, then it will be automatic after that. Okay, and then there'll be a thread, and if you're commenting on the previous person's, look at that, you just hit reply and then you comment on the previous person's. If you are the first one, you type it right in the box, just like we did here. So that should be fairly straightforward. I hope that's not a whole issue for you. Okay, so let's take a look at the syllabus and readings page, and we've just got about a minute and a half until the end of this screencast, so I'm just going to give an overview of this page, and then we'll dive into it in more detail in the next screencast. You'll see that there's a link to the actual syllabus here. This is a link to a live document. So if there are any changes that need to be made to the syllabus over the course of the semester or even before the semester starts, I will make those changes and save them. You can see that I use Dropbox as a cloud service. And this link will always take you to the most up-to-date syllabus. So if you have any doubts about anything, always come back to this page, click on this link, you will get the most up-to-date syllabus guaranteed. And it's very easy. I'm going to click. Ready, set, ta-da, and there it is. It brings it right up in a new page. So if we go back over here, you can see I'm still on the syllabus and readings page of our course website. But if I go to this tab, I'm looking at the PDF of our class syllabus. Let me go back over here for a second. I have listed here a couple of links to readings that you might need at the beginning of the semester just to get you started, especially for the first class session that we're having. So most of the recommended readings can be found, or most of the required readings can be found through the university library's online databases or through interlibrary loan if you're on campus. The rest of them we're going to link here, and that's just a few. You're going to be responsible for most of the readings. So you click on this, it will pop up. This one just requires you to, if you're a Lehigh student, you should have free access through JSTOR. There is no reason why you should ever have to pay for any of these online readings or these database readings. You might have to pay for your textbooks, but not for the electronic ones. All right, we're going to stop here, and we're going to come back by looking more specifically at the syllabus.